Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hopefully, I'm coming in loud and clear. Let me go ahead and get myself situated, make sure that I'm 5 by 5. What do I need here? Been doing so many shows for folks. Haven't really done any of my own shows of late, but we're going to get into it tonight. All right, sounds like I'm coming through, which is good. Let's make sure that everyone has a chance to come in before we get started. We've got a lot to talk about this evening, a lot to get into, and we're going to do just that. So, thank you for joining me as y'all come on into the room. If you need something to drink, go ahead and let me know. If you're watching now, put a 1 in the chat. Let me know that you're there. Hope y'all are doing well this evening. Yesterday was 9/11. It's interesting to reflect back on how many years have gone by since that horrific incident. And there's a lot to get into, which we will. What did you guys do today to recognize 9/11? What did you do? All right, so I look like I'm doing okay there. Looks like I'm coming through. Perfect. All right. All right, I see a 1 in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm going to ask you guys to be patient with me as I unpack this issue, this situation. Um, this is more than just a local issue. This is a national concern, and I will put all those things together. But tonight we are here to talk about the Democratic Party here in Kitsap County. We're here to talk about the Democratic Party here in Kitsap County. And we're here to talk about the fact that for those that ran for county commissioner, which would be our own Jeff Coughlin and a few others that did not make it, that the Democrats are concerned and they want to have someone to run as a write-in against the Republicans that will be running in the general. The problem with this is this is emblematic of what happens nationally in the Democratic Party. We've been seeing this more and more and more and more and more. And what we have seen is them telling us who they are going to put forth and not coming to the Black community and asking us who we want. Who do we want to elevate? And as such, this Democratic Party locally here has decided that they want to push Darrell Riley as a write-in for commissioner. What in the holy hell is Emily Randall, who seems to be the person who is behind trying to push and make this happen? You all know who Darrell Riley is. Now, we've had a conversation about Mr. Darrell Riley last year, which many of you know. For those of you that don't, because it is apparent that it's blue no matter who, no matter how bad the selection might be, no matter how harmful that individual will be, not only to the party itself, but to the Black community, should he somehow be elected into this position. How dare you, Emily Randall, and all the rest of you that would try to push forward Darrell Riley when we know what he has done in this community. Now, can someone change their lives? Absolutely. So we're not concerned about drug dealing, gang banging, none of that bullshit that he did in the past. Everyone deserves to change themselves. However, you don't get to keep doing that street mentality in spaces and call yourself a leader and hide behind several women in the community to hold you up as if we're just gonna push all the antics, the bullying, the threats to the side. We've seen this, we've seen it, we've seen it with the good Mayor Wheeler. Back when there was an event at the Marvin Williams Center and Drayton Jackson had to pull Darrell Riley off of the mayor because he was yelling at him in his face at a kids event. That's Darrell Riley. At the KBSU graduation, where, as you know, I talked about it, he put his hands on me, threatened my life, lied to the executive director of KBSU and everyone else. And then when Jewel asked him about it, he literally admitted that everything I said that happened was correct. And many of you have never heard that. So the story that I told a year ago on this very podcast was absolutely true, and he corroborated it. And you see Jewel in the chat signifying that that is absolutely the truth. But many of you didn't know that. And so, Democrats, I'm asking you, what are you supporting? What are you elevating? What are we showing as a representative, as a leader for the kid? Oh, Councilwoman Jennifer Chamberlain, president, is saying, I was at the first event. So is this what we're elevating for our youth? Now, I don't know Emily Randall. And sometimes she's in Black spaces, but not often. But clearly, she has not heard, or the supporters of Darrell Riley have conveniently left those details out in order for him to be elevated. Now, this is also a problem with our nonprofits, our banks, our credit unions, and anyone else with the quote unquote bag that love to put their logo on Black BIPOC events to say, look, we're doing the work, when they have no idea who they're supporting. So when you throw that logo up and you say, hey, well, he brought in Jane, and Jane is talking about white supremacy. He brought in Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. Look, he's doing good stuff. He did a financial literacy for the youth. These are the smoke screens in order to cover, to conceal his behavior, his action. And how do we know that these actions are true? Because y'all don't know who I know. So you don't know the spaces where he's talking shit about people and their organizations and how it comes back. Jules in the chat here, she says, it's supposed to be when you know better, you do better. We hold expectations for youth that we aren't holding for adults. Absolute truth. So all of a sudden, we're going to make all these concessions. I have good friends that tell me, well, it's like Donald Trump, right? There are good people on both sides. You get mad when Trump says something like that, but then when Darrell Riley does it, well, somehow we need to overlook that. And when people do tell the truth, we get ostracized. That's big facts. Integrity does matter. Now, people knew. Now, let me ask you, when this event happened last year and the conflict happened, for those of you that know me, have you ever heard of Marwan Cameron being in a physical conflict with anybody? No. Have you seen me yelling and screaming at another leader in this community? No. Have you seen Darrell Riley do it? Yes. So when there's an altercation between two people and you somehow would like to say, oh, well, that's just, two people that just didn't get along. See, the Democratic Party are feminists, right? They advocate for women, which is good. And so I bring that up because if this was a situation of a woman experiencing domestic violence at the hands of a man, there would be no support for Darrell Riley. But now, because it was another black man who has never showed any propensity, absolutely right, Jennifer, never an apology. How are we accepting that? And it's not we, because I'm not accepting it. And you can see other folks here in the chat that aren't accepting it either. You literally pulled from the bottom of the barrel. To elevate. I want you to understand something. The Black community has been struggling for such a long time. We've been trying to make progress. And it's so hard to make progress, especially when someone comes along and undermines that progress. Now, let me tell you what happens if he was somehow elected. Do we think that he would not do the same antics to his fellow people in office? His fellow commissioners? Christina Rolfus and Katie Walters? You don't think that he's going to bully them? And when they try to push back, he loves to play his race card, right? Oh, they're doing it because they're racist. You hear it everywhere, right? They're picking on him because it must be racism. Well, there ain't racism here. It's not racism there. So many people know his behavior, what he has done, how he consistently behaves. We saw the false olive branch during the Marvin Williams event at the golf course for prostate cancer, where he had this long Facebook post and said, hey, I invite all the people. Well, what did he say? Oh, some of you know about the video last year, And, that was BS. But, we're trying to move past that. I'm moving past that. And, I would like folks to come and be a part of this golfing event. And then at the end, oh, well, before the end, but you know what? I mean, I don't really need anyone to show up. We got it. And then it's hashtag I'm D still D, which means that it was bullshit. And so those of us, and many of us who knew that it was, and we didn't even give it any air, any attention. But for some seal clapped and said, oh, he's making the effort. That's the game. That's the hustle. Again, we talk about our youth. And this is what we're elevating. So no, you're not selling drugs. No, you're not gang banging. But you're bringing that toxic street mentality in and around the community. Juneteenth this year, I'm on the Juneteenth committee. What's interesting is I actually don't, let me read these chats first. Jules says, which is problematic for the rest of us when real racist issues come up. Absolutely, right? If we throw around the race card, then it just waters it down when there's actually a racial issue at hand. And it's rich coming from the most belligerent, nastiest bully in this town. She also says, never told the truth, never apologized, never held accountable. And if you remember, last year when I did the podcast, when I wrote the letter from Up From Slavery, which I was attacked through Facebook Messenger from a person who is no longer at Up From Slavery now, because apparently they have fallen out with Daryl. I said, this is what he needed to do, because it wasn't about destroying a man, but he needed to be held accountable, which meant that he needed to step down from his organization. But what the organization did was they rallied around him and they insulated him. Christina Rourke paraded him around the community for months. They were hand in hand, lockstep, on his rehabilitation tour. Don't worry about Marwan. He's just doing it because he's trying to win the election. Don't worry about Marwan. He's just jealous. Don't worry about Marwan. XYZ. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this event. We're going to partner you with this organization. We're going to go over here to this bank. We're going to get your logo on over here. You're going to speak at this. Don't worry about that. And here he is. And understand, Black people of Kitsap County and allies, that when you remain silent, this is what happens. Some good people, some good church folks, they asked me when he lied at the court case, when I was trying to protect myself with the protection order. They said, please, Marwan, don't do this. It's going to look bad for the Black community for you to go back and continue to call it out. Please don't do this. Just focus on what you're doing. Focus on what God has for you. Let God take care of it. And I was adamant back then. I'm like, no, because in this town, I didn't grow up here. So I'm not afraid of Daryl. Daryl hasn't done anything for me, so he can't threaten me the way that he has threatened President Chamberlain. So if y'all remember, because I do post these things on YouTube and Facebook, it was either a city council meeting or a React meeting, and he told Jennifer, oh, you don't need to be talking because I know your past, so I'll call you out. Right? So to say that implies I can hurt you with words. I can hurt you with what I know. So you better remain silent. But that's the MO. And I was asked, please, Marwan, don't do this. We had our Black collective that had failed and fizzled out, and people didn't want things to get any worse. Just focus on you. Gotta take care of it. And I'm like, no, we have to make a stand. We have not been making a stand in the city, in this county, in the state, in this country. But I did it because I respect the people around me, even though I really felt in my bones it was wrong. And I have proven to be right because here we are today, where someone who is in power, a Senator, Emily Randall, can elevate this person in our community, who I would say is the most toxic person. We have many instances in Chicago and New York where gang members, drug dealers have done many good community work under the guise of, look, I'm one of y'all. I'm part of the community. I'm for you. But you can't teach enough classes. You can't have enough speakers coming to this town when that is your behavior. It's a ruse. And y'all have seen it recently. And Jules says, and when I brought that up, I got told off and that he feels bad for my husband and called me anti-Black. Now imagine that. Remember, Jewel and Daryl were tight at one time. Now, because I told the truth and Daryl actually came clean and admitted it to Jewel, that because of her integrity, she stepped away. He compromised her organization. Now she's anti-Black, and you feel bad for her husband? Or did you not know that, Kitsap? Did you not know that? Or does it matter? Is he helping you get in the bag? Did you partner with him? Did that bring money into your organization? Or did that bring something even better than money? Did it bring legitimacy? If it was Kitsap strong and up from slavery, or up from slavery in this organization, did it bring you legitimacy to cozy up to, look at what we're doing with the Blacks? Oftentimes, those who act like they're trying to decolonize are actually still colonizing, just in their own way. Jules says, I thought you were very diplomatic, more than I would have been for sure. Heck, we couldn't even have a grad night at the same location. What about the kids? Who's fighting for the kids? And Jewel, you bring up a good point, because in our community, it's all about, oh, hell no, that couldn't have been me. If that had been me, I'd have done this, that, and the other. I could have had that attitude. And what would that have done? I want you to think, I think this is very emblematic of the slap at the Oscars. Chris Rock could have slapped Will Smith back. He could have thrown a punch, right? Chris Rock is quite smaller than Will Smith. Will Smith probably would have beat Chris Rock up. But what would that have done? It would have brought Chris Rock down to Will Smith's level. They both would have looked bad. Then it wouldn't have been just saying, oh, look at what Will Smith did. He was wrong. He needs to be canceled. Until he takes accountability, he sits out for a while, and he comes back. And that he's contrite. And he makes good on his apology and his restorative justice. No, I could have struck back. And what would have happened? These youth graduating, knowing how hard it is for our Black youth to graduate, coming through COVID. Grab me, you would be dead if it wouldn't martyr you. If it was your daughter, it'd be any different. Again, don't take it from me. Daryl said that to Jewel, that what I said was absolutely right. But he lied in court. And Christina Rourke and many other supported it and hid it. Again, when I have shown no history of such behavior. And so at the end of the day, restraint must be held in that situation. Right? I'm also a board member of the Kitsap Regional Library. That happened in my library. And as Jewel says, can't have the graduation at that library anymore because of hot-headedness, bullheadedness, rudeness, bully behavior, street behavior, and the fact that people in this town have allowed this behavior to persist. We play dominoes. There's a saying, all money ain't good money. Does he do some good things? Sure. But when you weigh them and you put it on the scale, you allies, stop compromising the Black community by elevating the worst of us, because it does something for you to have your logo on this work. Because you're terrified if he were to turn on you, because you've seen it. And just like an abusive husband or abusive wife, you walk on eggshells hoping that it doesn't get faced towards you. No more. You see the logo in the thumbnail. What many of you don't know is, and I have told some, but the League of Black Male Voters is being formed here in Kitsap County. When we had our debate with Brent Felix and Greg Nance and the good dentist, I can't remember his name, that was our first event. This is our second event. Because no longer can Black men stay silent. Some people say silence is violence. Some people say silence is complicitness. We're not going to be complicit. We're not going to be silent. If that means that you are too afraid because it's going to compromise your job, your position, your friendships, your relationships, that you're worried that the power brokers aren't going to support you next week, next month, next year, that you're not going to get that grant, you're not going to get that contract. Don't. Because when and if they do it, come and tell me, we're going to call it out. We're done. We're done. We're not doing this anymore. We're not. And yeah, what about the kids? Who's fighting for the kids? You write your resume every day. And on Daryl's resume is verbal violence. There's physical violence also. And it's not just me. You know, when the event happened, this envelope came to me. Y'all know uh, what happened at the Golden Star, right? Well, he lied about that too. He had a restraining order attempt put on him. Twice he lied. Twice he got away with it. Now you can't really see that, but if you could, it says Marwan with an O. This was sent to me last year. And again, the person who sent me this said, please, something has to be done. But again, others in this community said, please, please just let it go. He's going to do better. Jules says, I will forever appreciate your candor. You thought about everyone else. You thought about our kids, etc. And that's hard. I'm still a man. I'm still a human being, even if that was a woman, right? If you put your hands on someone, that other person is going to want to respond. How dare you? But it's not about me. It wasn't about him. It was about the people that we were in the room to support. He made it about him. Jennifer says, I respect restorative justice. I would like to see that put into practice here with Daryl instigating contact to make amends. And see, that's what I put in the letter last year, Jennifer. And instead, what he did was he lied. He rallied people around him to lie and to build him up over the course of the year and get him to where he is today. And so amends isn't, oh, I apologize, I was wrong. I admit to the community that what Marwan said was true, and I admitted to Jewel that what Marwan said was true, that I did assault that man, that I did threaten his life, that it was a bad look for Black men, for the Black community, for our youth, and it undoes all the work that so many before us have been doing. And how much work, how effective it will be going forward. So what would he have to do? I'm not here to talk about that tonight. But being a write-in for a county commissioner, that's laughable. Joel says, exactly, Jennifer, there's always a chance. I don't give up on the kids. I don't give up on people. We are all a work in progress. I am a survivor too. Yeah, you're right. So go back and look. I'm not going to put it in the chat, but I never put in there that he should just never, ever be able to do work in this community. But to stand by and just allow this behavior to happen unchecked, see what it tells not only to our youth that this behavior is acceptable, but we have a lot of vulnerable youth who are teetering on making some very bad choices. And when they see that, what it says is, you know what? I want to be like D. D the man, right? He don't give a damn. He does this, he does that, yada, yada, yada. Thing is, it's not likely to work out for you the way that it's worked out for him. Now we got to call it all out. Because these things, it's so frustrating. How many of you knew about this plan? Now we know that there's a big plan, right? Allegedly, we know Emily Randall is going to move on where she's going. And the hope is that Allison Rotter would be appointed to Emily Randall's seat. right? And then good old Daryl will be the commissioner. So we got a lot of people all up in the mix here. We have Karen Bolton calling around advocating for Daryl, which is justifying bad behavior. Now, you might think that the two of them, especially being on the board for Bremerton High School and what just happened, would not stand for that type of behavior when they feel like they did the right thing in ousting the superintendent of Bremerton School District. Are you going to tell me it's different? Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Andre. We can't give up on our youth. Folks need to be held accountable for their negative actions, like citizens are. Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to tell me that's different? Hmm? Dr. Crawford was out of line? Karen Bolton, Ali Rotter? Okay, you need to step down. Okay? They did the right thing according to the evidence. Well, you got the evidence on Darrell Riley, but you're still pushing him forward. Did not Dr. James Crawford, was he not doing good things? So then I ask, why does he go, but then Darrell stay? And just to be clear, I'm not advocating for Dr. Crawford. The board did what they thought was right, and that's all I have to say about that. It's hypocritical. It's bullshit. It's a power grab. Democrats talk about the dirty tactics that the Republicans do. And when you look up, you see the same behavior, even worse. And somehow, Democrats really believe that if Darrell Riley won this write-in and became commissioner, that after his first term, that the reputation of the Black community would not be harmed because it's just Darrell being Darrell. Hashtag D being D. I'm D. So as Jules said before, you know, you can call her anti-Black. You can call me anti-Black. You can say crabs in a barrel. You can say Willie Lynch. Shame, insult, need to be right. Guilt. We know better. We're not going for it. There are so many of us that are standing together. Folks that were looking for a voice that wasn't afraid to speak out, that wasn't impacted by what Darrell Riley was doing for them. And you know what happens when one speaks out? The other ones show up and say, hey, you're absolutely right. 1000%. This ain't cool. It happened to me. Never an apology. I'm done. And here's the thing. I have at least 50 people. 50, not 5, not 10, not 20, 50 who should be typing in this chat right now. But because of fear, they don't. But if you get them one-on-one, they'll tell you exactly how they feel. They thank you. That's what happened last year. That's what happened this year. Gatekeepers, absolutely. Gatekeepers. So Here's what's going to happen, Democratic Party. If you're interested in a black candidate, we'll let you know who that black candidate is. That is so offensive. We watched the Black Caucus in California not push through the reparations bill. We're done. You're not going to use us anymore. You're not. You have counted on us for decades, voting Democrat at 90% for so long. If you want our vote, if you want our support, you are no longer going to do this to us. And more of us are speaking out. And again, it's our right. I would like to see everyone vote and use their right. And we're going to encourage people to register to vote. But you know what? I'm not encouraging anyone vote for Darrell Riley. I will vote for the Republican before I vote for him. Are you convicted by anything, or do you want to win at any cost? See, having morals, having integrity means doing the right thing, even though it's often the hard thing. Man, we're going to lose this seat for another 2 years. It's unfortunate. But you know what? We have the integrity. We're going to go back. We're going to whip up more votes. We're going to get more information out. We're going to support people. We're not going to show up just when we need their vote. We're not going to placate to them and tell them what we're going to do next time and how every single time is existential. And then when you get elected, well, we couldn't do anything because, well, they obstructed. We better see bills being pushed and failed, bills being pushed and failed. But this is deplorable. It's appalling. It's surprising that this type of behavior is happening in Kitsap County. Yes. Joel says, yes, please vote. Voter registration event coming soon. Stay tuned for that. That's a big deal. If you have come out of incarceration, if you thought that you couldn't vote because you were formerly incarcerated, you can vote. You can register online. It's super easy to do. I've got a podcast before showing it. I'll try to redo it. Use your right. But when you vote against those that have taken your vote for granted for so long, see, the names don't hurt me. Apathy doesn't hurt me. If you think that, hey, the Republican Party doesn't do anything for the black community, matter of fact, they might even push things that can hurt or they're counter to the black community. Okay, I can give you that if that's how you feel. I respect it. But if it's the party that continues to tell you they need your vote only when it's election time, but never does anything for you, you never see anything, there's never any tangibles. They do things like put up the most toxic people. You know, at the 9/11 event at Evergreen this Sunday, Mayor Wheeler, Emily Randall, the three commissioners, all standing in a circle. And the Coulier walked up with Darrell Riley. Darrell Riley's in that circle too. Karen Vargas walks up. And the first thing they said to her, "Are you recording? You're not recording, are you?" Sure sign of people plotting and doing something in secret, doing something that had it got out, folks wouldn't approve. So if you have to wonder if people around you are recording, then what you're doing probably ain't on the up and up. So don't tell me Katie Walters, don't tell me Mayor Wheeler, don't tell me Christina Rolfs that you knew what you were doing wasn't the best thing for the community, and damn sure not the best thing for the Black community. I heard there's a possibility that Jeff Coughlin might be on Darrell Riley's cabinet. I would submit to you, sir, that if it is true that you are thinking about running for office again, whether it be commissioner or mayor, that if you are on that cabinet, the league won't be endorsing you. And the many individuals that I know, that I have spoken to, that might smile in your face, will not be supporting you either. Facts, Andre. So stand up, be accounted for. And I would love to have that dialogue. It's just amazing that this is taking place. So, as I know it, his announcement is coming tomorrow. If need be, if I have to, if I need to, then maybe I'll need to make myself a write-in candidate. Not hard to do. It's pretty easy. So, if that's what's going to happen, if he's going to be a write-in candidate, if the Democrats are going to support this, if the LD is going to support this, understand what you're doing. Understand what you're doing. And for all of you plotting, the alleys, the Karens, jockeying for seats and wanting appointments, right? Does that sound like democracy? Does it sound like equity? Does that sound like integrity? Doesn't sound like any of those things. The song, they smile in your face, all the while they want to take your place. I'm going to continue to talk about this. I will keep you all updated on the progress of this. But we are done here in this city, in this county. We don't want bullying in our schools. We cannot have bullies in our leadership. We cannot have bullies for our youth to see as they transition into adulthood. This is what we're showing them. Many of them so bright, so much to contribute to society as change agents. And when they see that it's more the same as high school, woe to you that drive one of our youth away from wanting to take their place, find their voice, be a leader. Woe to you. How dare y'all, not in our community, try to elevate the worst, the worst. Understand the League of Black Male Voters, which originates out of Kitsap County. We're not going for the gangbanging stuff. We're not going for the drug dealing stuff. We're not going for that street mentality. We're not going for it. We know that the clergy in this town have their own issues. They have their flock that they need to deal with, and for their own reasons, they typically choose not to weigh in. And I will say it's unfortunate because I would like to see our black pastors step up and say, no, we're not going for this, because so many people listen and follow them as they follow Christ. And so whether it's Pastor Johnson or Pastor Houston or one of my favorite up in Sinclair or any of the other black pastors and the new black pastors, you need to speak out. Your voice needs to be heard. I know you want to focus on your flock and focus on God, but this affects your folks that have to walk in the world when they walk out of those doors. We must be protected. Jules says, yes, Andre. And then she says, it's disappointing. And we will never get the next generation where they need to be. They see it all. They see it all. They do see it all. And understand this. I'll close with this. We've got the NAACP event coming up this Saturday. I'm not part of the NAACP, and I'm not part of it for my own reasons, right? I actually didn't support Juneteenth, but I started being a part of it because there were black folks that I respect. It was important to them. And so if it was important to them, it was important to me. And so I didn't have to agree with Juneteenth. I don't have to agree with what the NAACP does or does not do effectively. And I'm talking about local and national. But if it's important to them, then it has to be important to me. So I can set myself aside and support their efforts. I bring that up to say this. There was an article in the Kitsap Sun about Tracy Flood and the lawsuit that is pending. I wasn't there. I don't know what's true. I don't know what's not true. That will all come out in hearings, in the lawsuit itself. And what will happen will happen. But there are a few things that are true. You are supposed to be guilty until proven, or innocent until proven guilty. See that Freudian slip? Because often in the black community, we are guilty before proven innocent. You're innocent until proven guilty. Two things can be true at the same time. Maybe Tracy did all the things that was alleged in that article. But it could also, well, it is also true that she has done some wonderful things for the youth with her youth in court, youth and law day, which I have covered many of those. The youth love it. They're so excited. They learn a lot. The resource fairs, what she's done with drug court. So two things can be right at the same time. And so I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't there. But the Sun is very disparaging in their characterization. And I told the reporter this. I saw Kai last Thursday. I told him I have a problem with the Kitsap Sun personally. And many in the black community do. Because we believe that they tell a very biased, one-sided story. If in that article, the reporter says that people can't talk about the case because it's pending, and then decides to print a few sentences that says, hey, We reached out to Tracy Flood several times, but we didn't get a response. Well, if someone is suing you, would you not be a fool to give a response? So when you type that in the paper, you know what you're doing. And that's what I mean by the biasness of it. You know that Judge Flood's attorney would tell her not to speak. And so no matter what you print there, oh, she reached back to us and said she couldn't comment because uh uh advice from her counsel. She said no comment, or she doesn't respond at all. It's all the same. If you know that the people bringing the suit can't talk about it, then why would she be able to talk about it? And that's why black media is needed in this county to give other perspectives. And it's not just Judge Flood. It's what happened in Mason County with our Bremerton High girls. It's what happened in North Kitsap. And on and on and on and on. It was all covered here on the conduit. Exactly. How can you talk if it's pending? So yeah, it's intentional. They know who their audience is. Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you all to subscribe, like, and share. Share this podcast, share this channel. We broadcast city council meetings. We broadcast Kitsap transit meetings. We broadcast uh, events that are going on in the community. We broadcast resources that are in the community. Soon I will be bringing to you um, resources on rental assistance. There are 7 buy-in fours that have rental assistance. And there's been a lot of confusion over that, but I can tell you today that we met and there's a lot of clarity, and going forward, we're all in partnership. And so I'm going to start doing the podcast like I did during COVID. And that'll be whether hopefully KCR will be coming on. But if they're not able to do that, I mean, I spoke with Tony and Thomas. If they're not able to come on, I'll still be sharing that information out. But there are 7 organizations that have rental assistance. And y'all need to know what those resources are. So we're going to start doing that again. Andre says it's part of the system plan to keep us from rising. And No Degree says, right, that's intentional. They know who their audience is. Jules says, yeah, how can you talk if it's pending? I appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. Please understand that this isn't revenge. This isn't being hateful. This is standing up. You know, it was so hard back when we celebrate the Emmett Pettus Bridge and the hoses and the dogs and the billy clubs, and how hard it was for Black people to stand, to watch children have the hoses and the dogs put on them. Black men and Black women dressed up to be hit and beat, spit on, just fighting for rights. And here we are in 2024. Shouldn't be that hard now. But things are getting worse. They're not getting better. Democratic Party, you need to look at yourself in the mirror. The LD, you really should be ashamed of yourself. Senator Randall, and all of you that are supporting Darrell Riley, I know you like him. I know that many of you have a relationship with him. Maybe he hasn't done anything to you personally, right? And I'm not asking you because one or two people, well, not one or two people have issues with him. That means that you can't rock with him. So I've never asked anyone to do that. But I am saying that if someone is doing wrong and you hanging out with them, that's a problem. You elevating him, that's a problem. And if he was running around here and it was, "Oh, he's beating women," y'all would clearly not be supporting him. But see, this never made the light of day. But y'all don't know who she is anyway, right? She's not important. Yep, Jewel, we probably finally got our contract signed. Yep, absolutely. It's a big deal, right? Folks are struggling out here. They need access to resources and they need us working together. But we have to take the same stand as if we were in the 60s. Yeah, I agree. And Jewel says, "Yes, Andre, yes." And Andre says, "Pain got us where we are today, so let's keep the sacrifices going for ours." Yeah, I would like Daryl to apologize publicly and mean it, and then do the restorative justice thing, as Jennifer said. And that's not in a day, that's not in a week, that's not in a month. But for y'all supporting and justifying and saying, well, but he's doing some good things. All money ain't good money. This is a net negative to the community. And at the end of it, we can argue. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this before I end. I did not like Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. I had big issues with him. And Jewel will attest that I was going to do a series of podcasts when I found out that Dr. Michael Eric Dyson was coming to Kitsap County, because I think that he is very fraudulent. And I think that he plays on the hearts of Black folks and allies because he's so eloquent in his words and he placates to the heart, to the spirit, makes you feel good. Yeah, I got him told in an educated way. But at the end, what did it do? Here's the thing. I wanted to speak out on it. I had to pray on it, I had to think about it, I had to think about it, I had to think about it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to say anything about it. Maybe someone will get something out of it. I don't think they will, but maybe they will. I'm just not going to do that. And I kept it in. But I wonder if you're looking at how things were last year when Judy came. What was it? What was her name? Jane. Can't think of Jane's last name. It did the blue eyes, brown eyes study. And then you have Michael Eric Dyson earlier this year. How has the behavior changed? Tens of thousands of dollars thrown to have these conferences. And for what? What is the outcome? Can you measure it? Do people feel hopeful? They feel like they learned something? Has it changed behavior? Because what I see is people acting worse off than before. No Degree says people business get social currency for that. They pick a black face and don't care to vet their character so long as they get to say, I support the Black community. That's what I was saying earlier, No Degree. Jules says, laugh out loud. Yeah, I was mad too. Y'all, me and Marwan don't always agree. Sometimes we argue a little. Facts. Yes, Jane Elliott. Thank you. We do. But at the end of the day, we have respect. And sometimes when people say we agree to disagree, I think me and Jewel actually model that pretty well. Because we are far apart on some things. But that doesn't negate all the stuff that we're together on. Jewel Elliott. Yeah, what is the metric? And what's interesting is when do black folks need a white person to tell us about racism and bias? Like what? How much did they pay her? That's a transfer of wealth. Is that colonization? Anyhow, like I said, I kept that to myself, even though I vehemently disagreed. But that is for the reason why. Not because of the person doing it or the organization doing it. Could have been OC that did it, and I would have felt the same way. But I kept that in. But now, now we're calling it out. We're calling it out. No more. So, what can you do? If you were supporting Daryl Riley as a write-in, you can do the right thing and say, "Hey, I'm so sorry, but I didn't have all the information. And now that I do, I'm going to do better. And I won't be supporting you. And I won't be supporting your efforts as long as you are acting in the way that you're acting until you show contrition and apology and that you prove over a course of time that you are a different person." Like I said a year ago, hey, take some anger management classes. See, the thing is bullies know, hey, I can be the nastiest person in the room because what are they going to do? See, if they raise up to my level, then I win. If they don't say anything, I can walk out the room and I still win, right? That's been the MO. And then if they do stand up, I'll just cry racism. Or then I'm black being anti black. Go figure that. Go figure that. So you got to answer for everything. Nah, no to Daryl Riley as a write in. We're not voting for him. And as we're not voting for him, if we see him on the write in, I'm not voting for you. That means you, Emily Randall, all the other folks that are in the circle. Oh, and yeah, that probably means, oh, that's going to hurt G2. They might hurt the conduit, might hurt Marwan personally. That might mean opportunities dry up. You might all of a sudden try to find other organizations to do business with. You'll see transportation companies come from different cities all of a sudden when we're the only game in town. Yeah, you do what you do. But that's what real standing on business is. And I'll be standing on business. You can take my last damn dollar. You don't have to work with me. You don't have to talk with me. You can unfriend me. Deuces. But I'll still be talking and telling the truth. All right. Let me read these last few chats. Keep showing love, Jewel, by supporting a great cause. We're in this together because we're all God's children. Andre, I was raised by some amazing people, have had great mentors in my life. Reciprocity is a part of building rapport. I love this community, and we will get there. And I'm going to name everyone. That includes Tara Simmons. If you are in a political position, the expectation is higher. Just like we expect from our law enforcement. Your law enforcement, we expect you to have extra integrity. You're our elected officials. We expect you to do the hard thing. It's the right thing. It might be hard, but we need you to do the right thing. We support that. We're here for that. But we're not going to be silent anymore. We're calling this out. Jules says, you took the words right out of my mouth. If your goal is to only be liked, you probably shouldn't be a leader. Andre says, yes, Jewel. All right, I've been going. We hit an hour and 15 minutes. I miss doing my shows. I wish I wasn't doing this show. But I'm proud to be in a position to be able to stand. I'm going to sleep great tonight. It's not too late to change your behavior, how you think. Do you have a poverty mindset? If you're pissed off, if you think that I sold out, if you think it's some bitch ass shit, because I heard that, that's unfortunate. There's a saying that says we're only as strong as our weakest link. That's our weakest link. So we'll rise up a little bit, but we'll never get to where we're going, and we'll never move there fast. And they'll always be able to say, Black folks, you don't have shit to say because look at who you supported. I'm Marwan Cameron.